I watched Home Alone the other day for Christmas. That's one of the best films ever made. We don't know how to make children's films anymore. Dude, watch Home Alone. I hadn't watched it since I watched it as a kid. It's my first adult watch of Home Alone. And, dude, incredible film. It's so well made. It perfectly captures. It's Home Alone is the perfect Christmas movie because as a child, when you watch it, you are Kevin, right? You get sucked into Kevin. Everything he does is super believable. You can imagine that you are him. It doesn't even make you feel like you're imagining anything. It's just 100% relatable all the way through, and you're sucked in by just it has such a pull when you watch it as a kid of like, oh my God, the kid going up against the adult. He's alone. What's he going to do? And every item that he interacts with and every contraption that he builds and every idea that he has is so limited in the child's worldview. He creates traps out of toys. He hides in under beds. He messes around with spiders, which is like a child's fear. Like everything is so rooted in childhood that when you watch it as a child, everything makes fucking perfect sense. When you watch it as an adult, the film perfectly captures what you thought the world was like when you were a kid. And you can see as an adult how wrong at times you were, how your imagination takes you away and took hold. You can see like that experience of being a child and how you have also done those things. But from the perspective of an adult, you can, I don't know, it makes it feel even more authentic. A great example of this is when Kevin is getting bullied right at the start by all of his family members. Everyone's talking shit about him and telling jokes and ribbing him. And some of them are doing it in a mean way. Most of them are doing it in like a loving way or in an annoyed way or whatever, right? But then there's a scene after that where Kevin wakes up alone in the house and he thinks that he's wished his whole family away. He wakes up alone. He's a little bit scared. And then he remembers all of those things that people said to him. And in his memory, and if you watch it, it's the film, what most films would do would replay the takes exactly again. So they grab those takes that made it into the film and they would replay them again. What Home Alone does is it gets the actors to say the exact same words directly down the barrel of the camera in an exaggerated, mean, gross, and cruel way. So if you go back 20 minutes the day before, someone's like, oh, you're being so annoying. Oh, why are you being so annoying? Or Mom, Kevin's been annoying. And then when he remembers it in his mind, because it hurt his feelings, he has a distorted memory of it. And it's like, you're so annoying, Kevin. That's exactly what it's like to be fucking 11 years old. And you have all these emotions and you ruminate on shit and and to the point where it distorts your memory of events. That's what it's like to be a child. And that happens in good and bad ways, where your imagination distorts your perception of reality and your memories. So in some cases, in the present moment, you're not experiencing what's actually going on. But in other cases, even though you did experience what actually happened, you remember it wrong. Or you remember an exaggerated, emotionalized version of it because of your imagination, and you don't have proper control over your feelings and your mind, and you're still growing. And you don't have perspective, and everything is so new. So you kind of live in this like fantasy world as a child. Another example of this, which I found so relatable, right? And I remember how I felt when I watched it as a kid. Kevin goes downstairs into the basement and there's a boiler, right? And he sees the boiler and it like comes alive and starts to glow and its mouth opens and he hears it go, "Rah!" And then he gets scared and he runs away. When I watched that as a kid, I was like, fuck, that boiler is like haunted. The boiler is haunted. He can't go there because it's fucking scary. Which is how you would feel alone in the basement with a boiler that made a little rumble when you were a child. You'd be like, fuck, it's a monster. When I watched it as an adult, I was like, oh, Kevin is so scared. He's imagined that the boiler has come alive and that it's a monster. I remember when it was like, I woke up one night and the coat hanger had a coat on it, on the coat hook and a hat, and I thought there was a ghost in my room. And I stood there staring at it for like an hour and I got really sweaty and it didn't move and I thought it was moving and I thought it looked at me because it was my imagination. That's exactly what Kevin did. And I saw that he was just imagining the danger, but he thought it was real. And when I was a kid, I thought that the boiler was haunted. And I was like, man, the movie perfectly captures what it's like to be like a young boy, a young child. And that's why it's so good. And I think that's why movies are no good, or movies for children really struggle because they forget that imagination that you have. And the way that it's filmed as well is it's all filmed from his perspective. He doesn't, if you watch it, he doesn't get things explained to him. And he's allowed to just live with that confusion and that false belief. And the audience doesn't get it explained away either, which means when you watch it as a kid, you believe his perspective. But when you watch it as an adult, you watch it with this endearing feeling of like, I remember when I was that naive. I have felt like this at times. Instead of the kids having that immersion broke and everything being explained and your hand being held. Yeah, I don't know. It's just such a good, fun, brilliantly written, acted, filmed film. Go watch Home Alone before New Year's because it's kind of still the silly season. It's kind of still Christmas. So go watch it.